So I just want to say, despite the lackluster of Power Month, no information about the Jonathan and Twizzle project, no real trailer of Cosmic Fury or anything Power Rangers related, even though the fans have been doing a good job of promoting Power Rangers, unlike Hasbro and all of that. But that doesn't stop us for appreciating 30 years of Power Rangers, even though there are some good, bad, and downright terrible as of lately. But I will say this. I will say this though. Power Rangers, for the most part, has changed my life, and it made me look at reality in a different way. You know, of how I view things in life. You know, but at the same time, I look at Power Rangers as my scapegoat of escaping the problems in real life. You know what I'm saying? But when you think about it, I think 30 years ago, we wouldn't have Power Rangers if it wasn't for the actors that portrayed the iconic characters that we know and love today. So, link to the video down below. Shout out to the original creator on this. So, let's get to it.
Don't miss the all-new Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Starting Monday here on Fox.
August 28th, 1993. Out of the shadows of former juggernauts Barney the Dinosaur and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles rose the phenomenon known as the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. With its mixture of teenage angst, colorful costumes, and giant robots fighting rubber-suited monsters, the show immediately grabbed the attention of its target audience.
The first time I experienced Power Rangers, I was back in '93. I'm 5 years old, and I have two older brothers. And we watched the very first episode, Day of the Dumpster.
Yeah.
And we loved the show so much. After school, we'd come home, rush home, watch it.
I got on a VHS
I
from
love that box
Blockbuster.
art so much.
It was the first
Like,
episode. I loved it.
do.
It was just so, and I know because it is based off a Japanese TV show. It was so foreign.
Yeah,
I'd never
it
seen
is.
anything like it. It was so well crafted, and there was so much energy. You wanted to root for these guys, and you had no idea who the heck they were. You could tell, you know, they went back to being normal teenagers and all that. It was just bizarre to me. It was fun. It was energetic. It reminded me of Star Wars.
It was at the
October
time.
5th, 1993. With Power Rangers Mania just starting to heat up, fans were introduced to quite possibly the most iconic Ranger of all time.
Yes.
Then, of course, Jason David Frank came on as the Sixth Ranger, and
I just want to say RIP to Jason David Frank. I think this was probably his last interview before he passed away. Damn, man. Like, when Tommy came into the picture, it was a wrap for Power Rangers because he was the guy that cemented Power Rangers of what it's supposed to be. Martial arts action, original characterization. Tommy was at his own character. He was no Barat. But you know what? If it wasn't for Jason David Frank, we wouldn't have Tommy for what it is right now.
I was only hired for 14 episodes, and I was happy with it. I needed structure. I look at the lights. I look at all this stuff, and I was like, man, I get to be someone who maybe I'm not in real life. I got structure. I came from a hard life. I didn't have money growing up as a kid. I lived in a mobile home, lived in a trailer, had to go to the restroom in an outhouse. It was like, I'm happy.
so as the character, he was a fan favorite. Always was, always will be.
He still is, though.
He was the first ever Sixth Ranger, and he had the coolest powers. He had a great story arc.
It was the evil Green Ranger that turned good. It taught people you can be good. That's what I have people say, hey man, I was a bad kid and you taught me how to be better.
By Christmas 1993, Ranger Mania was running wild. Here in East Tennessee, before Santa came down the chimney, the Red and Pink Rangers made their way to Johnson City to be part of the Christmas parade, and Power Rangers had become the must-buy toy for that holiday season. And the next one. And the next one.
But this is the flip head right here. All these cool things.
Legacy Morphin.
And I remember it was the action figures that had the flip heads. So you'd press a button and the helmet
I used
flipped
to have
up,
one
and
of them
then
when I
you
was young
press it
too.
again, then the
I used to have the red and black one, not the karate chop ones. I think I only had the blue one. I believe is downstairs in the living room. There's a picture of me with that figure, but it was the flip heads that I used to have. I used to have the black one because, like I said, my booby, rest in peace to her. We used to go to her house every other year visiting, and she used to always have the little Power Ranger action figures. I think it was the red one. I think that is when my love for the original characters grew even more, because my cousins and I used to always love playing with them when we were kids.
There's so much you have to add on, and you can't just
Everybody
get
was on
one.
a
You got to get
budget.
all of them.
We could buy a lot more of the white tigers, or we could sell every one we could get our hands on.
The best we can do now is keep all the factories going 24 hours a day, and of course we're doing that.
This was only one per person?
Yeah.
Why do you think mothers across the country are giving in?
Because our children beat us into it.
Yeah, they did. Look.
That statement was
kid was like,
metaphorical, of course, but unfortunately, some children who were watching the program at home were emulating what they saw on television inside the classroom.
They were trying karate kicks, pretending they had swords. They would pick up sticks or things from the playground and make the sound effects that the Power Rangers were making, and children were getting hurt.
Schools nationwide were banning Power Rangers, even here at home at
Oh yeah,
Camp
probably.
Primary School.
I remember I'm hearing stories about Power Rangers were being banned in Australia and New Zealand because of the violence on TV. I remember when Austin St. John came back in the fandom in 2014 at a Comic-Con. They were talking about how the violence impacted the fans, you know, especially their young children. That was probably back in the 90s, you know, back when SJWs were crying and complaining about the violence in martial arts movies and TV shows. They try to do the same thing with the Ninja Turtles movies. The first one had violence, but the second one, they kind of watered it down and toned it down, the violence and all of that, just make it more cheesy and playful. Like, I'm like, what the hell is this? This is not the, you know, the Ninja Turtles that I grew up watching. Now I feel like I'm watching Power Rangers with this whole cheesy and campiness and all of that. Like, what the hell is this? And this was all due to the parents complaining about the violence in the show and Lord Zed being too scary for children. Like, come on, he's an original character. He's supposed to be frightening. Like, why you try to ruin this character for what it is? And I think the Rangers at Comic-Con said it best. You know, instead of you complaining about the show being violent, why don't you take your child to karate class and teach them about martial arts? The difference between reality and fantasy. Mind you, the Power Rangers did that back in the day. Try to teach kids the difference between the violence and what's real and what's fake. You know, if you hit somebody, it's real. But if you see them fighting enemies on TV, it's fake. It's all fantasy. The sound effects, the VFX and all of that, those are fake. They were teaching the kids about that stuff, and for some odd reason, I think the parents were just dodging a bullet, dodging lessons that the Power Rangers was trying to teach kids. You know what I'm saying? But it ain't just them, it's teenagers as well. So they were just probably thinking that, oh, since the show is that popular and it's violent, we're going to stop our kids from watching it. Fuck out of here, bro.
For our world, and so we want them to learn acts of kindness instead of violence.
For the proponents of the teenagers with attitude, there was a simple solution.
If the parents do object to the violent issue, then their final responsibility is click, turn off the TV set.
It turns out
take them to
not a lot
karate
of
class.
parents were turning off their TVs.
The hell is so hard about
Power
that?
Rangers' popularity was flying higher than ever before.
Oh yeah, in
We
the
do,
movies
in fact,
as well.
have several children who think that the color pink is called Kimberly.
We were the #1 kid show in the world before all the social media and all that. We did it the old-fashioned way, with typewriters and fax machines, and I had to fly to New York to do Kathleen Regis, and it was overwhelming.
Time. Go like to say, it's morphin' time.
Jason David Frank was supposed to exit the show near the end of the first season. But like they say, you can't keep a good Ranger down.
When I left as the Green Ranger, I did my own show called Cybertron, which was VR Troopers.
Oh yeah, that was
when they
93,
introduced the
I
new White
believe.
Ranger, kids were calling the station saying, we want the Green Ranger back. We want Tommy, we want Jason back, we want him back.
Fans loved his character so much, he came back as a White Ranger.
From Green...
I think I saw some Instagram posts. I think it was around November 93 when JDF wore a ponytail for the first time. And he was doing a show called Cybertron. And I think this is before he left Power Rangers in 94, I believe. Like around March or something where they were filming season 2. if I'm not mistaken. No, actually, he actually left the show in, I think, around March and April when they were filming early episodes of season 2 before he came back as the White Ranger. And that's when Austin 3 and Walter left the show in the summer of 94 when they were filming season 2. That was when the season 2 premiered in August, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It premiered in prime time, so I think that's why I remember correctly.
The character of Tommy was a mainstay in the cast until midway through the show's 5th season.
It's like, wake up, go to school, and start to fall asleep. Yes.
As was Adam, played by co-star Johnny Young Bosch, who had a difficult time transitioning after his time as a Ranger was over.
I started off on Power Rangers, so I was on camera.
I love Adam so much.
It was hard for me to get a job
lie.
after that because I'm half Asian.
Probably my second favorite Black Ranger.
Roles aren't really written for
with
half
Zach,
Asian, so
and he was a better Ranger as Zeo Green, but not as Turbo though.
So I struggled a bit, and fortunately for me, I was able to stumble into voiceover, which then it was like it doesn't matter what I look like, Then I could continue to act, and then it actually opened up my opportunities quite a bit.
Aside from voice acting, Bosch began focusing on a music career and created the band I Shine. This newfound creative outlet gave...
I also remember the first music video I've seen of him doing music. He has an amazing voice as well, besides martial arts and voice acting, but his music is what got people closer to him, to reach out, the audiences, because music is the most powerful thing in the world, besides acting and martial arts and all of that.
Bruce Lee says, it's the expression of yourself, I just like to be able to create. I like to relate to people, and that's, through music I can definitely do that because that's more of me, but through the characters as well,
A mainstay on the convention circuit, Johnny now has well over 300 acting credits to his name, including a couple appearances in later Power Ranger seasons. Most recently, he was in the 15th anniversary two-parter Once a Ranger, alongside Mercury Ranger Dwayne Cameron.
It's really crazy because when I did this episode, which a lot of...
I kind of disagree. The majority of people I talk to on Twitter, they don't like the special, and I don't either because it felt rushed. The Overdrive Rangers look kind of weak, and they just completely gave up on the veteran Ranger staff been there before them. And if I remember correctly, the most TV specials I've seen when Power Rangers were done right were Forever Red, Once and Always, Dimensions in Danger, even though it was rushed due to it being aired on Nickelodeon, but the extended version they didn't show was the fight between Tommy and his Robo Self. I think for the most part, Power Rangers has its ups and downs, even though they got some bad and terrible seasons, 3 terrible movies as usual, but it's still an iconic franchise, even though even though it's small, but under the hands of Hasbro, they're gonna end up going big when they reboot the franchise again.
And it had Johnny Young Bosch was in it, who's OG, Mighty Morphin, and he was 15 years deep in the franchise when we shot that. So now I'm 15 years deep in the franchise. So it's this whole full circle where now it's been going for 30 years. It's the 30th anniversary. And I was in the show right in the middle of it, literally in the 15-year anniversary.
Yeah, but you was in SPD
so I definitely
and
feel that
as well.
being a part of that full circle journey of meeting the OGs,
not just
working with them,
you were a Ranger.
And then now
with a
ugly I'm not quite OG, but somewhere in between new and old school. I'm somewhere in the middle.
Cameron was part of Power Rangers Operation Overdrive and smack dab in the middle of the Disney era, which is known for making a bang.
So Disney's known for its explosions. It's Michael Bay explosions. And we were told that. They said, look, they love blowing stuff up, so just be aware of that.
I'm sorry.
And I was like, oh, yeah, it's fine. And then we did this really big shot one day where they said, look, we're going to just do this massive explosion behind you. And, you got to sell it. Jump off your feet. And we didn't know they were filling 44-gallon drums of gasoline and putting detonators in them. And so when that thing went off, you can't see the hall here, but it was 100-foot high fireball. We didn't jump off our feet. We were kind of blown off our feet. And the back of my hair was like kind of not singed, but it was hot, you know. So that memory literally was burnt into me.
Okay, your girlfriend's here to get a book signed. I thought I'd just do a video for you.
That's dope, man.
For you,
She's
Michael,
getting it for
and
her
all
man.
the best,
That's
and it's
what's up.
fortune time.
With a career consisting of multiple Ranger forms and seasons, Jason David Frank has the most appearances of any individual Ranger with over 250. His appearances in later shows even returned some lapsed fans into the franchise.
Tommy Oliver, Dino Thunder. I was like, Tommy's back, I gotta watch it. And to see him start off as a Zordon character and then go back into a Ranger, I was like, you can't do anything better than that.
Dino Thunder,
Oh, yeah.
that was my favorite.
I think everybody voted Dino Thunder as one of their favorite seasons because of JDF's appearances, because he came back as a mentor and a Ranger, but to me, he was the real leader in Dino Thunder than Connor, in my honest opinion. I'm not the biggest fan of Connor because of a few personal reasons, but I feel like Dr. O was a mentor and a Ranger at the same time.
The original series, and by that time I was old enough that my mother was like, okay, whatever, I'm not going to say anything.
For JDF, it was his loyalty to his fans that kept him coming back.
Yeah.
Now, why is Tommy Oliver the longest existing Ranger? Done the most episode is because I truly, passionately cared about the show. I didn't care about money. I was like, you're going to do it? Yep, I'll do the episode.
You know, you would have think that he would have been one of those, the rest of the OG Rangers caring about money if it didn't do one appearance in a TV show or as a series regular in the entire season. JDF is the type of guy that doesn't give a damn about the money. All he does is just do one scene in one show for the fans because the fans love the iconic character of Tommy Oliver. But I think now that the rights went to Hasbro has acquired all of the rights to Power Rangers. It's Union now, so they could just come in and do one scene and do one special for the fans, and it's not even about the money, you know, as long as you're paying the actors, that's really all that matters, though. But back then, it was un-union. It wasn't about the money, like he said, as long as the fans appreciated the show for what it is, as long as he's in it, that's really all that matters to him, though. But I think, like I said, when Hasbro owned the rights to Power Rangers now, I can't figure it out, but the actors and actresses are able to come back and do like certain scenes, and whether it's for a full season or a special, they're able to pay these actors now than they did 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
This is awesome. And then as it got more and more, I said, man, I got to give my fans more.
And I met him the first time when he was here in 2019. And I remember he was at his little booth and there was a massive line. And he got up, walked all the way down the line and came back and said, listen, guys, I'm sorry, I got to do a Q&A. But my manager here is going to give you a number and you go do whatever you want to do whatever you need to do. And when you come back, if you have a number, you go ahead to the head of the line. And I thought, this man loves his fans.
I just take time for people. And that's the reason why I think I grew such a big fan base. I'm just here to make people happy. But they make me happy. And that's the reason why I can do this to the last fan standing. People don't understand what that means. I've signed 13 hours straight before. When you drive by the shop and you're like, oh, he's done, I'm not done. We're still on ticket number. And I don't like to rush it, because even 6 foot distancing, we can feel each other. You know, you take 2 guitars and you strum them. And on Instagram or television, you can't feel it. But in real life, you can feel that energy.
After I met him the first time,
and that's a good thing.
I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to get a tattoo to honor this man, because he's an awesome guy. Loved him.
JD White.
And the second time I met him at Tall Man Comics, he signed the arm.
I'm a fan of it. I'll never down it. Power Rangers is my life. It was something that people said, aren't you afraid to get stereotyped? And I said, no. Who else can be a hero? But to me, my fans are my hero, because without them, I wouldn't be here.
Sadly, Jason David Frank passed away in November of 2022, but his legacy lives on through his fans and his Power Rangers family.
We looked up to people like JDF.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm one of the 6 Rangers, and then so if I meet new 6 Rangers, I'll chat to them. So there's that stuff that you kind of like passing the baton, you know, so to speak. So yeah, I'm always encouraging new actors and new Power Rangers, yeah.
With Power Rangers lasting for 3 decades, there's a reason fans keep coming back.
I think it's just the fact that it's able to redo itself over and over and over. Each series is different, and each series can appeal to a different part of the population. I think that's its ability just to reinvent itself over and over, and to play on that theme of learning, getting better, growing up, learning lessons. Not all those episodes ended happily. They learned lessons sometimes. I think there's something timeless about that.
But I mean, like, look at Doctor Who, look at Star Trek. This could be, I'm sure we'll actually be here in 100 years' time. I think Power Rangers was meant to run for 3 years, and now it's 30. So who knows?
It reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of.
There will never be another JDF. Like, anybody played the iconic Tommy Oliver off than Jason David Frank himself. The guy is the master of a martial artist. Like, the only person that can bring the character of Tommy Oliver to life is him. Unless you do a reboot of the entire franchise, you just cast someone who is exactly like Tommy Oliver, who is a martial artist that can do jump kicks like he does, that can do fight scenes just like him. Like, Power Rangers has always been my family, in terms of stories and the artwork and all of that. And just like these original 5 VHS box art, I just wish they had Tommy like that. I just wish you would have seen him morph into the Ranger, into his Zord like this. Like these iconic box arts. These were the box arts that made me love Power Rangers. It's like every time I think of season 1, I think of these. Like, they were enough for me to get into this franchise. And like I said, I wasn't aware of Power Rangers until like the late 90s. I was 2 when Mighty Morphin Power Rangers came out. And even in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, even in the 2020s, I was still a fan of the originals because they were iconic. The suits were cool. Tommy's suit was cool, even though I hated that rubber shield in the American version. But the Japanese version was way better. So, at the end of the day, 30 years of Power Rangers is still going strong, even though it has its ups and downs. Ain't nothing wrong with an adult that loves children's property. Especially if you have ones like this, Ninja Turtles, Spider-Man, X-Men. You have adults that are fans of Power Rangers that even love this franchise to this day. Ain't nothing wrong with it. The same way you love music and you're an adult and you still listen to music. Well, I'm an adult and I still watch Power Rangers. So what's the problem? So shout outs to wbird.com. Link to the original video down below. All credits go to the original content creator. So yeah, I'm gonna catch you in the next one. I'm out.